Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My husband, Matt, 52 male, and I, 46 female, have 3 children, a son, Andrew, 24, and 2 daughters, ages 12 and 8. When Andrew was growing up, I felt a bit trapped in the role of a stay-at-home mom. Matt was, and still is, a great father, and earned more than enough to afford all the necessities, and some luxuries too. We had just purchased a new Infiniti, which Matt had picked out, but I wasn't happy and was seriously considering asking for a divorce. One day I was involved in a minor fender bender while out shopping. I was driving our still fairly new car, and Andrew was with me. None of us were hurt, but neither of the doors on the passenger side of the car would be opened. Andrew was understandably upset, and so was Matt. The guy who hit me, Raul, was actually very nice. We exchanged contact info, and honestly, I really enjoyed talking to him. So I began seeing him whenever Matt and Andrew weren't home. Honestly, I was happier than I had been in a long time, but I eventually felt guilty. I told Raul I wanted to work on my marriage, so we broke up. I confessed everything to Matt, and he agreed to go to counseling. Around this time, I found out I was pregnant with a baby boy. We did a prenatal DNA test, and it showed that Matt was not the father. I decided to give my son up for adoption after he was born, so that's what we did. Matt and I then had our 2 daughters. I've always felt guilty about the adoption. So a few years ago, I did a DNA test and found my son, Diego. I was horrified to learn that he grew up in foster care and had an unhappy childhood. He always wanted to know his biological parents. He found Raul and has a good relationship with him. I told Diego that I wish things had been different. Matt's parents, who passed away in 2021 and 2022, left half of their estate to Andrew, and the other half was to be divided between our 2 daughters. To be honest, I thought this was unfair, but it's the way they wanted to do it. The girls will receive their portion of the estate when they turn 18. I've yet to begin distributing the money to Andrew, and the reason why is that I feel strongly that half of his portion should go to Diego. I have told Andrew that I would like to give half of his portion to Diego, because it's the least we can do to make up for the fact that I should never have given him up. He's my son, and the only reason why I gave him up is because I thought it's what I needed to do to save my marriage. But he's had a really hard life as a result. Matt has taken Andrew's side, saying that not only is this unfair, but it's against what his parents wrote in their wills. I know that there's the legal aspect, but there's also the moral aspect of me wanting to make up for a mistake I made when I was in a bad place. Matt is now threatening divorce, while Andrew is saying some really horrible things about both me and Diego to pretty much anyone who will listen. Is what I'm asking such an unreasonable request? It is not OP's son's responsibility to pay for OP's mistakes. OP is not making up to Diego. Andrew is. He did not have the affair. He did not give a child up for adoption, and he should not have to pay as a result of OP's actions. OP needs to ask herself, if the money didn't exist, how would she make it up to Diego? Because the truth is, that money doesn't exist because it isn't OP's. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Billy Fly says, "You're the a-hole. You messed up at every angle of this story. Your husband has zero obligation to give anything to the kid that you had outside your marriage. It's not the kid's fault. Unfortunately, he was put into a crappy situation because of your decisions. If you want to leave anything for Diego, that's completely on you. Why should your husband's family and your son be paying for your mistake? Also, why did your husband buying a car lead you to considering divorce? Seriously?" Nichigan90 says, "You're the a-hole. You don't get to ask Andrew to give up half of his inheritance to make yourself feel better about your own ducked-up decisions. Also, this other kid of yours isn't Matt's. He's not entitled to Matt's parents' money." Deleted User says, "You're the a-hole. It's rightfully Andrew's, so it should be his choice. Putting it in his hands is the correct thing to do. Also, Matt's parents had no relation to Diego. I understand you wanting him to have something because you feel you wronged him. But it's up to you to make it up to him, not Andrew, not Matt, not Matt's parents." The Nord321 says, "Oh my God, you're the a-hole. Your guilt for your errors. You can try fixing them on your own instead of stealing from your other children. These are Matt's parents' inheritance and have nothing to do with your affair baby. It's not even your parents, your side of the family. This entitlement surpasses all bounds of reason. If you need to repent or financially help Diego, then get a job and earn it yourself. My 28 female fiance, 27 male, a Todd, of 6 years died 2.5 years ago in a car accident. It was absolutely devastating and the worst thing I've ever been through. I have never felt pain like it and truly don't think it's possible to feel pain like it again. It's like I lost a part of my soul. I spent 2 years walking around like a zombie. I've only recently started really recovering. I keep trying with them because I know they're suffering too, but being around them is making me miserable. Even before his death, my in-laws were selfish and overbearing. They'd constantly make plans and decisions for me. If I couldn't make or simply didn't want to do those plans, they'd throw giant-ass tantrums and call me selfish. They made me miss my aunt's funeral, my mother's 50th birthday party, my graduation, every single time because they wanted to go out or booked a vacation without my knowledge. If I tried to say I'd made other plans, they'd get nasty. His sister would make snide remarks about my appearance or how I do my makeup. His dad would make bigoted comments that made me extremely uncomfortable or mock my accent, and they refused to let me plan my own wedding. I ended up with a dress I hated because they said every dress I loved made me look ugly. We live over 4 hours away, so visiting them was already taxing, so throwing in their personalities on top made visiting them all the less appealing. When my fiancé died, I tried to support them as much as possible and looked over their flaws. But it's 2.5 years later, and they still demand I drive to theirs twice a month. They've never come to me. Control what I do by bombarding me with passive-aggressive, guilt trip messages if I make plans without them. Tried to force me to legally change my last name to theirs, even though I was always going to keep mine. And call the dog I adopted to help cope with the loss their dog too. They call him the only grandchild they'll ever have. A few weeks ago, I started tentatively dating an old friend, and they found out and started saying if I really loved my fiancé, I'd never date again, and called me a W. The accusation was heartbreaking and a huge setback in my recovery, so I cooled things off with the friend. They told me that was the only way to honor my fiancé and that they expect me to live the rest of my life alone as you only get one shot at love. I can't imagine how painful losing a child must be, so I feel bad for potentially cutting them out, as I was such a big part of their son's life for so long, but they're emotionally exhausting, and I don't know how much more I can take. My mother thinks I should just suck it up and tolerate them while they work through their grief, and that I'd be in the wrong if I didn't. My dad is more on my side. Will I be the idiot? Edit. I grew up in a quiet religious household that put a lot of focus on manners and pleasing other people, which is why I think I sometimes struggle with telling people no. For that reason, I don't want to hurt or disrespect people who have been in my life for over 8 years now. My mother instilled a lot of those values in me and didn't want me to seem rude or ungrateful, but she also had a stillborn and says she relates to them as what they're going through will be 1,000,000 times more painful than what I'm going through. Edit 2. They found out about my old friend and I after we went on a movie date and grabbed some ice cream afterwards. We took a selfie and my friend tagged me in it on Instagram with a fairly innocent comment about how he enjoyed watching the movie and grabbing some food with me. A few days later, my fiancé's mother rang me crying, saying that the sister had just showed her the photo and she couldn't believe I had moved on so quickly. Not the idiot. OP, get away from these people as fast as you can. It's one thing to honor the memory of your fiancé. It's another to put your life on hold for the remainder of your days, mourning for something that you will no longer be able to have. It's very selfish of them to continue treating you like this, not allowing you to move on. Cut them off, block them, and please continue seeing your friend for your own happiness. These people are ridiculously controlling, manipulative, and toxic. My brother, 29 male, and sister-in-law, 29 female, asked Wednesday if they could come for a visit at that weekend. They're 6 hours away. We said sure, Love to see you. Friday afternoon, I, 34 female, had an ultrasound for my 8-week pregnancy. The ultrasound showed a likely miscarriage. My husband, 35 male, and I were upset, but as my bro and sister-in-law were already driving, we didn't cancel the visit. We hadn't told them about the pregnancy, nor had we told our 3 kids. When bro and sister-in-law arrived, they were excited to tell us sister-in-law is pregnant, and due 2 weeks before I would have been due. I tried to sound excited and happy for them, but I wasn't as excited as I normally would have been. Then it turned into a nightmare. She didn't like supper, so we ordered in food for her. She needed the bed moved from one wall to another. Fine. She insisted on 5 pillows to sleep. I found a couple, and she was upset I couldn't give her more and asked if she could go into the kids' room and take theirs. I said no. Next morning, she freaked out at 7 a.m. that the kids were eating cereal too loud. She spent the morning curled up on the couch complaining about morning sickness. I sympathized and said it's awful, but it will go away. She screamed, "No, you've never experienced this. They gave me the same anti-nausea drugs they give chemo patients, so shut up." I got quiet. My husband was making brunch and she freaked out that he was going to cook bacon because the smell makes me vomit. We didn't make bacon. She also didn't want us to make eggs or let the kids have syrup on their pancakes. I refused, so she stormed off into her room until mid-afternoon. Mid-afternoon, she decides to go shopping and said they'd be back for dinner. We said dinner would be at 5:30. At 5:45, they hadn't shown up and weren't replying to texts, so we ate. They showed up at 6 and she freaked out that we hadn't waited, so we ordered pizza. She spent the next 2 hours complaining about how brutal pregnancy is and how it sucks so much and how she's never going through it again. I lost it and told her that I was in the middle of a miscarriage and I'd love to have her problems because it means my baby would be okay. Everything got quiet and she looked at me and said, "I can't believe you'd use the miscarriage word around me. That's bad luck, and if I lose the baby, it's your fault," and went to her room and slammed the door. About 15 minutes later, she said, "I'm glad you lost the baby. You already have 3, and if you had 1 right now, you'd just be trying to upstage me. I'm glad your baby is dead." I burst into tears, and my husband told her to get out. He said, "I've watched you complain, whine, and bitch all weekend. We stayed quiet about what was going on with us because we thought you deserved a chance to enjoy sharing your news, but this is enough. Get out now." She started screaming about how we are total a-holes while my brother packed their stuff and they left. So are my husband and I the idiots? She keeps texting my husband. I blocked her because I can't deal with this right now, saying we're crappy people for kicking a pregnant woman out and demanding we pay for the hotel. I don't see how we are wrong, but I am a little messed up emotionally right now and needed reassurance I'm not just crazy with hormones and emotions. Not the idiot. Seriously, I'm offended she is trying to blame her behavior on pregnancy hormones. You can still be a decent person while pregnant, and it is not normal to tell someone you are glad they lost a baby under any circumstances. If anything, being pregnant makes you sadder for people who miscarry. What the actual duck? OP, you are not going crazy, and in no way are you the idiot. Your sister-in-law needs therapy, which is also not your responsibility. My husband and I are both 32, and we've been together for 15 years. His younger sister is 28 and is considered the golden child by her parents. She can do no wrong. Now, that doesn't make her bratty, but she is spoiled and is used to having people do whatever she wants. This sometimes gets in the way because her needs are always placed as a priority over my husband's. Example: one time we got mugged while on a business trip abroad and had no money or cards with us when we arrived at the airport. Uber wasn't as big yet, and we had asked my in-laws who lived close by if they could pick us up. We arrived and, whoops, sister wants to go somewhere out of state last minute. Sorry. Last year this came to a head after several gnarly back-to-back instances of her being unreliable. She volunteered, I didn't ask her, she stepped up, to watch our cat while we were away. When I video called to ask how things were going a few days in, I caught her in a lie and realized she came in the first day, discovered that she was very allergic and hadn't gone back. My mom was luckily able to step in. She wanted to be helpful and drive part of the way while on a road trip. We gave her the car keys, and as soon as she began driving on the highway, she began screaming and swerved off the road. We asked what happened. Apparently, she has a fear of driving, but she wanted to show off that she had gotten over it. She began spreading rumors that my husband and I are dependent on my in-laws, and they pay our rent while she has to forge her own way in life. This is not true. She actually was living at home with them until recently. Well, finally, for the first time in 14 years, I lost my temper with her. I told her she was unreliable and she really needs to start to grow the hell up. That I can't even expect the bare minimum of her, such as don't kill my cat, don't kill my husband, don't kill me. That even those were a toss-up. I didn't also expect her to spread lies. I couldn't take it. Nobody else in her family ever tells her to cut it out or simply no. It's always, but she's trying her best. It's been a year now, and she's basically cut almost all contact. She moved out, but we aren't able to know where she lives. She even sent a super passive-aggressive Christmas card and left out the return address. How she even mailed it, I don't know. When we met up for holidays, we recently celebrated Chinese New Year, she doesn't even say hello or talk. Occasionally, she'll open her mouth to excuse herself to the bathroom. Now my husband is upset that I've ruined his relationship with his sister. That I was too hard on her, and because she associates us together, she can never be open and honest with him anymore. It's upsetting, but even though I know I could have been kinder, I believe my feelings still are justified. I also feel like she's acting too much like a victim where this is basically the result of her own actions. Everyone thinks that I caused this. Am I the idiot? Edit. Just to clarify, prior to this, I had been asking husband to advocate for me to his sister and family for years to no avail. That's part of what led to the snap. I also am a people pleaser. I would be skeptical of handing over responsibilities to sister-in-law, but pressure from husband and my in-laws would make me cave. Well, no more. I could have been kinder, but as many of you have pointed out, even if my relationship with sister-in-law is strained, it's not my responsibility to get my husband and his sister to be cordial to one another. If they want a relationship, it's up to them. I'm all for it. Also, I have tried reaching out to her, but she ignores my texts and I have no idea where she lives. I'll encourage husband to reach out to her. Not the idiot. I think the problem is that she doesn't necessarily do things out of spite or bad intentions. She's the, I was only trying to help. But the way she helps is akin to a 3-year-old trying to take part in baking a wedding cake. Like, I know she wanted to help by taking care of my cat, but you actually have to do it. I then later got a conflicting story that she did indeed go back in there or had someone else go in and check or something. I don't know, I wasn't actually there. All I know is that when my mom had come in, she reported that it was a complete mess. We left the place sparkling clean. So I know she had some sort of freakout or something. She also wanted to be helpful during Thanksgiving years ago and asked if she could cook something. I told her what would be really helpful was if she brought the drinks. Well, she brought the drinks all right. 2 bottles of straight vodka, and that's it.